If you're in the MMORPG sphere at all, you're probably hearing about a new Blizzard lawsuit that just hit the news. This time, it isn't Blizzard being sued, but Blizzard suing the owners of a private server named Turtle WoW. I know a lot of other content creators are talking about this right now, but I've been into Turtle WoW for like over a year now, and I wanted to give a bit more perspective on Turtle WoW as a game and copyright as a law. And first I want to start off by saying World of Warcraft isn't just a game. It's a world, it's a feeling, it's a business. It's an IP that has brought millions of people together for over 2 decades. For many players, this lawsuit feels like the end of a chapter, and it sucks. But at the same time, it raises an important conversation about why copyright law matters. Turtle WoW first launched back in 2018, created by a small group of passionate fans who wanted to reimagine Azeroth in a slower, more roleplay friendly way. It started small with just a handful of players, but over time the server grew into one of the most popular and respected WoW private projects, especially after Blizzard's official WoW Classic started to stray further and further away from what makes Classic WoW classic. Very quickly to go over this, Blizzard released Burning Crusade Classic. It's slightly different from vanilla. Blizzard then releases Wrath of the Lich King Classic, which is even more different than vanilla. And Cataclysm is basically nothing like vanilla, and I don't want to even talk about Pandaland. Blizzard then had Classic era servers, but they're stagnant. Yes, it's vanilla, but it's a version that players knew would never be updated, flaws and all. Blizzard released Season of Mastery, which was basically vanilla over again, but with minor tweaks. It had a small group of dedicated players, but otherwise died pretty quickly. Then you had Classic Hardcore, which are dedicated Classic servers, but with one life. Same problem as the Classic era servers, they're just stagnant. Then Season of Discovery. Season of Discovery was probably the closest Blizzard has come to releasing something in the same realm as Turtle WoW. It's Classic era, but with new quests, new raids, updated abilities, and some other things. Basically, Blizzard was testing the waters as to what they could tweak and still maintain the dedicated Classic player base. It went well for a while, but it didn't quite hit the mark, so it lost a lot of players pretty quickly. All of these versions of Classic WoW now exist, in addition to retail, and Turtle WoW, just like any other private server, comes in to provide a new spin on that same experience. But Turtle WoW isn't just any private server. It was one of the most beloved fan-run versions of World of Warcraft. Unlike Blizzard's official servers, which focused on preserving the original vanilla experience, Turtle WoW went in a completely different direction. It was built on the Classic WoW foundation but added its own spin. There were new quests and storylines, playable custom races like goblins and high elves, each with their own starting areas and quest lines, a slower, more chill leveling pace, hence the name Turtle. There were quality of life improvements that stayed true to the spirit of the original game. There were new zones, updated class balance, new enemies, new professions, new dungeons, new raids, new hunter pets and pet abilities, and so much more. Turtle WoW has so much new content that some people say the game was close to being split 50-50 between original and new. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but more importantly, Turtle WoW was considered to be a true Classic Plus. And if you don't know, that's this idea of building a game in the style of classic World of Warcraft, but with updated content. Very similar idea to old school RuneScape. For many players, Turtle WoW felt like a love letter to the original game. To them, it wasn't about profit. The game was free to play, supported only by community donations. But here's the catch. All of this was still built on Blizzard's copyrighted foundation. It really doesn't matter how much new content you make. If you're building it on a copyrighted code base, it's still technically against the law. So here we are today. Eventually, Blizzard steps in, they file legal action against the Turtle WoW team, citing copyright infringement. And here's where things get even more serious. Blizzard didn't just file a simple copyright complaint, they brought a RICO claim, which stands for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Normally, RICO is used in cases against organized crime, money laundering, or large-scale fraud. Blizzard is essentially arguing that Turtle WoW wasn't just casually infringing copyright, but operating as part of an organized effort that caused significant harm to Blizzard's business. The difference is huge. A standard copyright lawsuit might result in a shutdown or fines, but a RICO case carries the threat of massive financial damages, asset seizures, and even criminal liability. That's why this isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's a life or death legal situation for the Turtle WoW team, and why they have no choice but to take it seriously. But for most fans, the argument is still pretty simple. For its community, it feels like the best version of World of Warcraft they have played in years was at risk. For Blizzard, it's about protecting their rights as the creator and owner of World of Warcraft. At its core, copyright is simple. It's the legal protection that gives creators ownership over their work. Whether you write a novel, compose a song, paint a picture, or design a video game, copyright says, this is yours. You get to decide how it's shared and used. Why does this matter? Well, imagine you spend years making a game. You design characters, build worlds, compose music, and write quests, and it hits. It's very successful. Now imagine someone takes that work, hosts it online, maybe tweaks it a little, and distributes it for free. Suddenly, your control over your creation is gone. So this isn't really just about Blizzard. Other gaming companies have faced the same issue. Nintendo is notorious for this. They've shut down countless fan projects like Pokemon mods and the fan-made Metroid remake AM2R. So while it feels harsh, copyright enforcement is part of what keeps creative industries alive. If Blizzard ignores projects like Turtle WoW, they risk weakening their rights in their future, and without copyright protections, all creators, big and small, would have no control over their work. But that's the corporate view of it, that's the business view of it, that's the legal view of this. We aren't businesses, we're humans. So here is the human side of this. For many players, Turtle WoW isn't just a server, it's a community. It's a return to the game they loved, but in a way that kept it fresh for a modern age. And it was something that Blizzard had, for the longest time, refused to do. Retail WoW is fast-paced, competitive, and overly monetized. Official classic WoW is nostalgic and fun, but it's Blizzard's frozen vision. Turtle WoW is different. It gives players a slower, more role-play-driven experience, a world where exploration and social interaction matters just as much as your gear, a place where the devs weren't a distant corporation, but fellow players, shaping the game alongside the community. And of course, Blizzard's reputation today isn't great. Many fans feel the company is more focused on monetization and quarterly reports than on player experience. When a community-driven project like Turtle WoW gets shut down, it feels like a clash of values. Corporate ownership versus grassroots passion. And that's why it hurts so much. It's not just the loss of a private server, there's more private servers out there. It's the loss of a reminder that classic WoW, a 21-year-old game, can still feel magical when it's in the hands of people who truly love it. But, I'll say it again, as much as this feels unfair, it's also important to understand why Blizzard has to act. That's where the tricky balance comes in, passion versus law. For Blizzard, defending their copyright isn't optional, it's necessary. If they don't enforce it, they risk losing control over one of their most valuable properties. But for fans, projects like Turtle WoW aren't theft, they're tributes. Other companies have handled this differently. Sega embraced fan devs and made Sonic Mania. Valve turned mods like Counter-Strike and Dota into multi-million-dollar franchises. So that begs the question, could Blizzard ever do the same? Imagine if instead of shutting down fan servers, they offered a framework, a legal way to experiment, mod, or even run custom versions of Azeroth under Blizzard's umbrella. It would take a lot of work on Blizzard's part, but it could be a win-win. Blizzard protects its IP, and players get to keep creating the worlds they love. Until then, though, copyright law will always win out over passion. That's just the system we live in. But most importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more content just like this. I hope you enjoy World of Warcraft in whatever form you play it in, and I can't wait to see what we talk about next.